Hi friends, and welcome back to Gardening Suburbia. My name is Amanda and I'm a homesteader here in Cincinnati, Ohio, Zone 6. And today I need to up pot a whole bunch of things. I need to go ahead and take cuttings and root them. And I think I'm going to try to tackle my dahlia tubers. I went ahead and I've already started soaking some of my sweet peas so that they can go ahead and get planted outside. Sweet peas, depending on the variety, can either be planted inside, started inside 4 to 5 weeks prior to planting them out. You can go ahead and transplant them out. So that's what I'm going to do with this variety that I got from Johnny's Seed. This is a double bloom, so it's got a lot of ruffles and it is extremely beautiful. I'll go ahead and pop a picture of it on this side over here. And then I've got a Sweet Dreams mix from just Burpees. And then this is actually the variety of sweet peas that my sister gifted to me. And then it bloomed shortly after my grandma had passed. So I've kind of I associate this sweet pea with her. So I'm going to give this a special spot in my garden this year. It looks like last year I planted it on March 17th. So that is 2 days from now. I'm starting it today so I can plant it up tomorrow. And then hopefully on Monday, which is St. Patty's Day, I'm gonna actually be planting out my potatoes. People on the Cincinnati gardening group recommended planting potatoes on St. Patty's Day. So that's what I'm gonna do this year. I have plenty of seed potatoes from last year that have already set off sprouts, and so I'm going to make sure I give those guys a spot in the garden. It is raining a ton here in Cincinnati. We've got a lot of severe weather. It has been raining pretty much nonstop all day today. There was a lot of high wind earlier and it was kind of scary. I'm going to grab my sweet potato. All right, here it is, friends. So they're sweet potato slips. I have actually never grown sweet potatoes, and this was an experiment. I find that is the best way to learn how to grow things, is to just experiment, because every garden is different. Things that I may be able to grow in my backyard, you may not be able to grow, and things you may be able to grow, I may not be able to. So why not try? So this is a sweet potato from the grocery store that I just stuck in some soil, and I started it on January 12th. It did already have little sprouts on it, which is why I was inclined to start it in soil. I've seen people do it in soil as well as just sticking the whole potato or half of it in water and letting the other half just be above water, and it grows roots that way. I decided soil. So this is where we're at. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slips on this. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these cuttings. I'm gonna pop them in some rooting powder. Let's not dump that everywhere. I just got this from Home Depot. I'm sure you could buy it off Amazon or from any local gardening websites or greenhouses or whatnot. So I think this was like maybe at most $10. I don't think it was that much, but I'm going to say at most. But essentially we are just going to cut these guys off at the base, dip them in some rooting powder, and pop them into some soils. So I actually need to go get my box cutter so I can get a nice clean cut on these. So one second. All right, so I just grabbed one of my trays that has hardly anything in it. This actually has some stuff that needs to be up potted. We've got Status, Maline, which I'm gonna be up potting to sell at market too. And then we've got some eucalyptus, some lemon balm. You guys can't even see anything that I'm showing you. And you can't see my face. All right, there we are. So In this tray, we've got some statice, some mullein, and eucalyptus, some lemon balm, which I believe is the bergamot. Yeah. I'm actually going to be gifting this to an older lady that I clean for during my regular job. She has a beautiful, like, English-inspired garden, flower garden, and she had asked me for seeds for this particular plant, and I've failed so many times to give her seeds, so I'm just going to give her a plant. And then we've got some motherwort or sweet Annie. I honestly don't know for sure because I had some things get mixed up, but it is looking nice and happy, and it's grown quite a lot since I've up-potted it. This doesn't need up-potted. These do. The mullein I will be selling at market as some plant starts, but that is not what we're here for. This is just a tray that I'm going to be using to put these things in. I've got my seed starting mix and a 6-cell. I'm just going to fill this with some soil. And then I need to grab my little spray bottle and just pre-soak these cells so that this sweet potato is going in something that's not completely bone dry. And I need to make a label. So we've got sweet potato. I am gonna write maybe store-bought sweet potato. And I'm gonna write the date that I initially started it, so it's 1/12, and then today when I up-pot it, so that is 3/15. All right, just pop that guy in there. I will be pre-making holes because, oh, definitely needs more water. We pre-make the hole so that when we stick this with the rooting hormone on the stem, that the rooting hormone doesn't just rub off in the soil. It stays at the tip so that it can actually grow those roots. I think we're getting somewhere. So I'm just gonna make like an 1.5 inch hole. And I may experiment a little bit with this. So I'm gonna bring you guys in close so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got a box knife here. What I will do is just take a very nice clean cut, like so. I'm going to just get this wet a little bit. Take my rooting hormone. And then I'm just going to take this and swirl it around in there. So it's nice and coated. And then we're going to put this in one of the holes and then just stuff the soil in around it. And we're just gonna keep doing that with each one of these guys. Got a little water down here. And I think with one of these longer ones, I'm going to, again, experiment. I'm gonna cut just below a leaf node. I'm gonna take this leaf off, and I'm gonna try rooting this like that. And we'll see how that one does together. I'm just putting this in my 6 cell simply because we are kind of close to when these guys will need to be planted out. So what I'm hoping is that I can just get these guys planted up before they really need any much more space than what I'm giving them. All right, this one's a big one. All right, and then we have a 6 cell of sweet potatoes from the store. Hi friends, it is the next day. So we did get a couple things finished yesterday, mostly being I got a good majority of my little 20 cell soil blockers up potted. So now we've got some mullein, my wild bergamot, Russian status, and a 6 cell of the mullein. These little 6 cells are going to be for me, while these bigger pots I'm going to try to add into my plant cell. I still need to up pot some of this eucalyptus, but I'm going to put that to the side for now because my next goal is to finish my dahlias. So in years past, I have just let my dahlia tubers rest until they needed to be planted. This year, I think it was last year, I saw a video of someone planting their dahlia tubers, not fully like you would typically, like 6 to 8 inches deep, but just with the neck and the eyes poking out of the soil so you can take cuttings. So that is what I'm doing this year to get plant starts. I might have broke that one. So this one I think I accidentally somehow broke. But this is a creme de cassis cutting. We'll see what this one does. But it is a cutting that I took off of this tuber. So right now it looks like there are 3 eyes. We've got that guy, and then on this side, if you guys can see that. So when these guys get to have 2 sets of true leaves, I'll go ahead and do another cutting. Essentially what I did with the sweet potato, where you take the cutting and then you put it in some rooting hormone and plant it. That is what I did with this guy on March 5th, so about 10 days ago, and it had started to set off a new set of leaves. I don't know if it'll do much now, only because I accidentally broke the stem somehow. So that is okay, but this is the plan. We're gonna put these guys in pots so we can get cuttings, so that we can get plant starts of dahlias to then sell. Today is just gonna be planting the tubers, separating and planting the tubers. So we got a lot of work ahead of us, because I've got an entire tote of dahlia tubers, and I did not separate my dahlia tubers out unless I saw a visible eye. I have had trouble identifying the eyes on dahlia tubers. See, like this one, I thought there was only one, but there are 3 eyes on this one, so we'll figure things out. I did also bite the bullet, and I bought another 10 heavy duty 10 by 20 bootstrap farmer trays. These guys, last year I had purchased just some really flimsy ones off of Amazon for like 25 bucks. They literally only lasted last year. And with doing the plant sale, I have to transport a bunch of plants in my teeny tiny sedan to the marketplace. So I figured I might as well get the better quality seed starting trays. That way they last longer, and I'm less likely to dump an entire tray of plants on the ground. Because last year I was doubling up on the little flimsy trays, and there were a couple of times I almost lost an entire tray of plants because they were flopping everywhere. So plan for the dahlia tubers themselves. I am just going to use my cheap pots that I have saved over the years to then plant my tubers in, as long as I can cut them down to fit into these. If they don't fit, I probably will just leave them in the bin until I need to plant them. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, so the fun part of this is going to be trying to figure out what is what. I do think I did a fairly decent job of labeling these, but I do know that there are a few that's going to be kind of fun. So this was just peat moss. As you can see, we already have some sprouts in here. And again, some of these I did not take apart simply because I could not tell how many eyes I had. So this is a rock star. That's garbage. So with the tubers, this is just a clump. When you are dividing your dahlia tubers, you need 3 main components to make sure that they are viable. So the main components being, let's see if I can find a good example. So the main components that you need for your dahlia tuber are the body, which is this main bulbous potato-like structure, the neck, which is basically what connects the body to then the eye. The eye is going to be the portion of your dahlia tuber that sits out the sprout. So your plant, this part, which this one has gone crazy. That is the portion that I struggle with currently, because sometimes they're a little harder to see when they haven't sprouted out yet. So we got Bishop's Children. I believe this one is a rock star. I use permanent marker to write on the tuber. Sometimes that gets kind of like squished off or rubbed off, so it can be kind of hard to tell sometimes. That's a rock. Sometimes I feel like I didn't put anything on anything. Which is not helpful. Alright, so the next part of this is trying to separate out my dahlia tubers the best I possibly can, getting those 3 vital parts. So when I take a look at this clump or cluster, you can kind of see how this tuber is damaged. So I don't know that it's going to do anything. So I'm going to see I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this tuber off, and I'm just going to leave it as this giant one and this guy, because I don't quite know if this guy is good either. So I'm just going to cut this guy off. If that guy had been good, this tuber actually had an eye right there. So I could have kept it like that and had this tuber body with this eye. And I could have gotten 2 dahlia plants. But because that tuber didn't look good, we're just going to leave it as this guy. And that is okay. All right, so this guy will get planted maybe. Separate the containers. Grab a little bit bigger one. This is no. just have to make do with that tuber being out. We'll experiment with this and see how this works. I don't know. Oh, this is my creme de cassis. So, as you can see, the labeling on these is not great. So I think I'm going to change this up for next season and do something a little different and hopefully have something that sticks. So, I'm just going to set this guy in here, add some soil. And leave the eyes out. I'm going to make sure I label it. With the date. I do this one because it's a lark's ebb. So body, neck, eye. Okay, friends, so this will be officially my 3rd year of storing dahlia tubers over winter in my basement and trying to bring them out of dormancy to then plant in the garden the following season. My 1st year of doing this process, I used vermiculite as the substrate that I was storing my dahlia tubers in. I found out that the vermiculite really did not hold the moisture as well as I wanted it to. This also could have been an issue with me just not making sure that my dahlia tubers had enough moisture. So a lot of them did dry out. I still had a few that survived. The 2nd year I switched to peat moss, and I found that this worked a whole lot better for me in my own use. And so in that I've grown knowing which substrate to use with my tubers, especially in the climate that I live. So now this year I'm learning that I think I'm going to be using my plant tags, my little plastic plant tags, punching a hole in them and then kind of tying them to the tubers with the name written on that tag. That way there is no confusion as to which tuber is what. What I've done in the past is just using permanent marker, writing directly onto the body of the tuber. And it has kind of worked, but as my tuber collection has grown, it's become a little more difficult to kind of differentiate between which tuber is what, especially when the tubers, the name of the tuber gets rubbed off. So it's going to be another thing that I just, I learn with experience, and hopefully each year can be a little better. And hopefully in me sharing my own journey, you guys can come along with that and just learn with me. And maybe I can save you a little bit of the headache of going through it yourself. All right, so I have a good number of the Lark's Ebb, which is really beautiful, like peachy, yellow, orangey dahlia. I'll go ahead and pop a picture on the screen for you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna wrap the video here. I'm gonna get down to work. I'm gonna get these guys finished. Not all of them are gonna be put into containers. But the ones that I want to go ahead and propagate and take cuttings off of, I'll go ahead and do this. Also for the ones that I can tell where the eye is. I'm definitely still learning. I'm never going to try to like put wool over your guys' eyes. I'm always learning something new when it comes to gardening, whether that's with cut flowers, vegetables, whatever it may be. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing because it really does help my channel grow. I'm really hoping that 2025 is the year that I can go ahead and actually monetize this channel and really take that leap into making this something that I can do full time. But in the meantime, if you guys want to watch any of my other content, I'll go ahead and pop a video up here for you guys to enjoy until that next upload. But until then, thank you guys so much for joining me on another day of getting my hands in the soil, trying something new, and really growing and learning myself. So I'll see you guys in the next one.